But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Bray. Friday night, it's the start of the weekend. It is the three amigos. Welcome to Mitch, to Steve, to Keith, and to Joe. As always, plenty to talk about and all your regular favourites on the three amigos. And the sky's the limit was what was said. And Stephen Kennedy obviously likes to look at the Flyers in depth because he says, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Mitch makes a hot woman. Mitch?
And I make beautiful babies as well. So there you go.
There you go.
And a decent curry.
And a decent curry, yeah. Well, speaking of which, I've just had my curry. I've literally got in from Asherton after filming the latest scene on the Sears film. We did a wonderful scene today with a highly talented Nick Ball. Many of you older viewers will remember Hazel in the 1970s. He was the star of that show. He has completed his scene today, which was fantastic. But yeah, back from the film set, and I've got to go back on it. So I managed to fit in 2 hours to do this show, which I love doing, and I know everybody enjoys watching it, and the lads love doing it. So managed to wangle it in somehow, but believe you me, we're racing across Newcastle to get here. So completely unprepared as we usually are on this show, apart from the lookalike, etc. We'll go with what's in the chat. And John, who is often contributing great questions, says, "Even and everyone, would you start Maxi rather than Murphy? There's a theory that Maxi's more of a good starter than an impact player, while Murphy was excellent coming off the bench in our last game. What's our thoughts, Mitch?"
I'm all for if somebody's fit, but they're maybe it's not up for 90 minutes. Send them on like you did with Bruno when he come back from injury. Send them on and say, give me your best 70 minutes. Run yourself out. And then we can adjust and make changes after that. And I'd always rather go that way around with one of our better players than have them coming on from the bench, because I think there is something in that theory that it's better starting than not so much of an impact player. And I think if he's available and fully fit, say to him, right, give us your best 70, give us your best 60 if that's all you got in the tank, and let's see you tear this full back a new one, and see where we'll go from there. That would be my take on it. What about you, Steve?
Ground he likes. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's a ground he likes. He's played well there in the past. He will be itching to get on, and I see no reason why you wouldn't, if he's fit, wanting to put him in. It's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? Because you're taking something out of the midfield.
It's a great dilemma.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But you're taking something out of the midfield in terms of, like, we know Joe Linton suspended. So does he just come in and the rest of the team follows around that? Willock drops a little bit further back, etc. But I just look at it and I think, is the guy fit yet? If he would has another week of training got him to the level that Eddie Howe wants? And again, this is Eddie's dilemma, not ours. But I think, like every Newcastle fan, we want to see a fit ASM taking people on. The way that the team's been playing at the moment, the speed, the movement, everything that's been going our way, and he would just be the icing on the cake to round off some of those moves that we've seen. So that's my take. Yeah, if he's fit, let's get him in. Throw it to you, Keith.
Yeah, it's the easiest decision in the world for me.
From the ASM fan club.
There's no comparison. I mean, when you look at Maxi and you look at Murphy, there just is no comparison. I'm sorry. I don't like knocking people, but you're talking about a man that if Maxi starts tomorrow against Southampton, he'll rip them a new backside before half time. And for me, when you're comparing Murphy and Max, I just don't think you compare them in the same breath. I think that Maxi's, he's just different league. And for me, like you talk about replacing players and getting strengthened in January, but St. Maxim in that side that we've got out there now, and the way we play and the way we work, and it's made more for him because it'll give him more space. I mean, whenever he was playing before, he was attracting 2 and 3 defenders. And with this team we've got now, I think the team's so strong. I think each player will command his own marker, and I think Maxi will have more space. So to compare him with Jacob Murray, I just don't think it's a comparison. I don't think it's a close comparison even. I think the chalk and cheese, and if Maxi's fit them on, stick them on, he'll rip them a new throat, and he the bloke's quality, and with the way the other people are playing in the team, he's going to be even better. But people looking back to when he was playing like in Bruce's end and Eddie House was starting, and we didn't have the strength and depth, and we didn't have the people that could I don't know, draw. I mean, the way Almiron's playing at the minute, the way Mickey's playing, and you look at what the midfield are doing, I think Maxi will have more room now than he'll ever have. I think Newcastle's grown as a side while he's been injured, and I think in the past it's all been him, and he's had his head down and he's had to run a 2 and 3 players. But I think in the side we've got now, I think we've got so much strength in other areas that he'll get space that he's never had before. So. Honestly, if Maxi's fit tomorrow, you start him and Murphy doesn't get close.
Joe, what's your take on it?
Yeah, there's 2 bits, isn't there? There's should we, and I think we're all in agreement that yes, Sam Maximin on his day and a fit Sam Maximin gets in the side before Murphy. Of course he does. I just wonder though if there's part of Eddie House thinking in terms of looking at the fixture. Do we need to? We've got there's a natural break coming up, isn't there? There's a cup game next Wednesday night. Looking at the way we're playing, looking at the way Southampton are playing, does he need to play? And is it worth that risk? If he's not 110% fit, why would you bother putting him in? Because, and I know we're nowhere near this part of the show yet, but I have a funny feeling we'll beat Southampton with or without Alisson Maximin. So I wonder if the question is, do we need to? If Murphy does play and he plays anywhere near like the level he did when he come on last week, I certainly won't be disappointed. I think if the World Cup wasn't coming up, and I think with the fixtures, looking at the fixtures as they were, potentially Sam Maximin does come on and he does his half an hour and we build him back up into the team. But I don't see it's worth the risk because knowing our luck with what's happened with Isaac, it'd just be our luck for his hamstring to go, wouldn't it, on a cold Sunday afternoon in Southampton? So why bother?
Yeah, interesting stuff. Great stuff coming from everyone in the chat. Good evening, everybody in the chat. Southampton not won at home since August, plus the right back is out, and I would start Maxi. He will rip them apart. Lots of messages like that coming in, which is great. David Cook, repeat your question in the chat, please, that you sent us, mate. I'm honestly, my head's up my backside this week, and I haven't really had time to find it. But if you can resend it, mate, that would be good. And I will ask the Amigos tonight, I promise. A friendly's been announced today. Again, usually I would do Eddie House press conference. I've been on set since 7 this morning, so I've not been able to see that today. I've got no idea what Eddie Howe has said or anything, to be honest. So I've obviously seen this has been announced though. Rio Valesano in a friendly at St James's Park on Saturday the 17th of August, to which Barry Hogan asks, Mitch, one question about the friendly. Why do we need it? Well, I guess because there's a break in the World Cup, Mitch.
Words from Eddie Howe a couple of weeks ago was he wanted to put together a mini pre-season ahead of this league starting again to have everybody in shape mentally and physically and hitting the ground running after the World Cup. And that makes perfect sense to me. We've got the friendly in Saudi and the training camp accordingly with that. And then we'll come back to the UK and we're into a friendly against Rayo Vallecano, who are obviously also wanting to do something for their team ahead of the La Liga starting up again. So it makes perfect sense. It's a decent level of opposition. It's not somebody who are total mugs, but equally it's not somebody you would expect to take an absolute 1,000 off either. I think it's hitting the right kind of balance. Have Vallecano got Saudi links in their ownership somewhere? I've got a feeling they might have, but I'd have to look that one up.
They've got Newcastle links with Lejeune playing for them,
of course. I think to me it makes perfect sense because that's exactly what Eddie Howe said he wanted. He wanted to create this vibe of a mini pre-season, and friendlies are part of that.
Yeah. Another dimension to that, Mitch, as well, is that if we get through the League Cup tie on Wednesday night, the next round of the Cup is before Christmas. It's that week.
Yes.
It's the week of beginning the 19th. So Christmas week, we've got potentially a League Cup game if we get through on Wednesday. So again, you're talking about hitting the ground running. A good friendly, played a decent standard on the Saturday, and then hopefully into a League Cup game midweek before we then got the first game back in the league on the 26th. So all of those little cogs shows you that someone's got the intelligence, someone's got a little bit of forethought. We're not just going, you know what, let's have 2 friendlies in 2 days. Let's do this, let's do that. Let's just throw all sorts of kitchen sinks at things, or let's just go on a Swanee for 6 weeks and let's enjoy the World Cup and see how it goes. It shows that we do have people with a little bit of a brain and a little bit of foresight going on and a little bit of organisation for once.
Yeah, Keith, pre-season friendlies make sense in pre-season, mid-season friendlies. As people who watch those with the days with George Mitchell will be scratching their heads going, we're going back to the bad old days. But we're not really. It's simply because there's this World Cup break, and as Mitch says, you know, it's like hitting a reset button on your season. But Eddie Howe's doing the right thing. Bit of warm weather training, friendly out there, bring them back to the tune. Hopefully, Newcastle will have progressed to the next round of the League Cup. That means they'll have 2 games before the Premier League starts again. And that means Newcastle, the team, the squad, the players are all back into the swing of things rather quickly ahead of everybody else, one would hope.
I think the other thing you've got to consider is, whilst we've got a few people away on World Cup duties, we haven't got the numbers that some squads have got. So that there's other teams will have an awful lot of players away, and there's other teams will have people that'll probably feature in the latter rounds of the cup. So I think some of our people that do leave us will come back sooner. But when you're talking about a World Cup, I think it would have been suicidal to not do something while the World Cup's on, because it's a crazy time of the season. You know, it's due to the weather in Qatar. This is, you know, I don't know if it's happened before. My knowledge, this is the first time a World Cup tournament's ever been played at Christmas, and it just smashes right in the middle of our season. So for me, I think that we've got to do something in this period, and I think the bulk of our squad, you know, I'm being sort of negative in a sense to say I don't think Joe Linton might not get to the cup. And then you ask, will people like Dan Burn get? Because there's rumours he might get. But there's a lot of people there. When you think, you know, if you lose, if Trippier goes, but when you look at the defence, how many of them will feature? You know, how many of our defenders, centre halves, will feature in the latter rounds of a cup competition if they go? And when you start going through the midfield, Longstaff won't be going. Joe Linton might not be going. And you might think, well, you're losing Bruno. When you look at the whole thing, I think we've got a lot less players going to the World Cup than some of the people that we're trying to get one of those top 4 spots off. You know, so I think if you look at Arsenal and Man United, well, if Man United qualify, but Arsenal, Spurs, it's hard to see who's going to finish, who's going to compete with in the end, but certainly Man City. And you look at those teams, and I think they're going to be threadbare. I don't think they could run the kind of the games we could run. So for me, I would be trying to do something by ear so people are playing competitive games. And if people come back from World Cup tired, because there'll be a climate issue and there'll be a temperature issue, and Mitch will tell you about that. If the impact of playing in that heat will have an impact on, let's say, East, you know, like Western European players. So for me, if you had a squad that was ready to go and you were slotting people back in from the World Cup, I think it's a no-brainer. I think that we'd do well, but I think the days of having a period of like a month right in the middle of that and doing nothing is more Steve Bruce attitude. I think it's the kind of thing you'd have got off Steve Bruce. He said champion. You know, he'd have gone on a pint competition or something. But when you look at like this fella, he's going to have the bulk of his squad to work with. And I think some of the people that go away And I'm thinking of like, if people like Shah go away, how far will that team get in the World Cup? You know, we've got some cracking squad players, but I think you've got to ask how far will England get, you know, in the World Cup. If you're talking about people that's going to be there towards the end, I would say it'd be the Brunos of the world. But Newcastle might have a lot of their players back way before the end of the tournament. And I think competitive games outdoes training. So for me, I love what he's doing. And crazy as it might sound, if we beat Southampton the weekend, I think we can do Chelsea at home. And if we beat them two, we could go into the break third. You know, because it's daft. And I was the optimist who said we'd finish fifth at the start of the season. You know, I said fifth out of nowhere. And a few times I did think, God, you're pushing it, but it's just belief. I guess it's belief in competing again. But if this team were to go away for a World Cup in third or fourth position in the league, it's super critical what they do through that period and how hit the ground running in January. Because, you know, we started so badly last year and finished like a train. This team now have been robbed of points in this league so far. We've had points blatantly taken off us through VAR, and now we standing toe to toe with anybody. We look like we could stand and box anybody now. And I just think, you know, 2 signings, you know, and I think we will make 2 signings in January. This team can do it this year. We can get Champions League this year.
Yeah, Joe, pre-season friendlies, you know, mid-season friendlies, it doesn't matter. Eddie Howe's got the right attitude, hasn't he? And John Justice Allen says that the friendly is so Miggy can win December's goal of the month.
Absolutely.
Quality Johnny boy.
It's the lads are right, aren't they? You know, it says a lot about our football club now. It says a lot about Eddie Howe. And the one thing that we've noticed this year is the intensity. You know, you can see how hard they're warming up before the game. You can see how hard the substitutes are warming up at half time. Yeah. So why would he not? There shouldn't be any surprise that we're arranging friendlies and what have you. And I think the other big thing for me, just listening to Pat all there, was maybe that this is the last time that the new Newcastle United will actually benefit from international football, you know, because we're signing in, we've got international players, we'll be signing international players. And I think if Eddie Howe can see an opportunity to get them at it, so I don't know the fixtures, I don't know who we play when we come back. But it'd be nice to think they're at 95, if not 100%, ready to go. And that can only be a good thing. You know, the fitness levels will remain. Yes, they'll get their break in Saudi Arabia, although they'll be working really hard. And then to come back and, you know, we're playing the Spanish League side. It's not like we're arranging a friendly against someone crap like Sunderland. You know, we're actually playing top level opposition, you know, in the middle of the season. So I think it's fantastic. I think the lads are right. It'll give Howe the chance to, you know, to maybe look at a couple of different players in a couple of different positions. If we are going to have an FA Cup run, if we're still going to be in the League Cup, you know, people like Jamal Lascelles, for example, if Shah's away with, you know, at the World Cup, Lascelles is going to need miles in his legs. And also, just maybe with the window open, and then it also might give a couple more of the players, you know, we mentioned people like Jacob Murphy, for example, it might just give them one last kind of dig in the ribs to Eddie Howe to say, don't forget we're here and you don't have to naturally just replace us. So it's fantastic, isn't it? We're doing things properly and long may it continue.
Yeah, 100% we are. And as you say, Joe, long may it continue. And can anyone explain, again, I'm not up to date with the current news, have the FAX appealed against Klopp's 30 grand fine after his red card versus Man City? I've not seen this. Like, I would find that very hard to believe, Les, if that's the case. Surely that's not right. Anybody heard about that?
I haven't heard that.
No, I haven't. It's used to me.
We'll have to search that one up, and we might.
Well, if they are appealing against his fine, they obviously feel that the fine isn't high enough.
Yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. We'll do more. We'll do a little bit of digging on that one and find out a little bit more. We'll take this one from Michael. Can we talk about is that Sia? In regard to NUFC, electric car manufacturer, HQ in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or Lucid, a 60% owned PIF company that also make electric cars. Then maybe there's a link to British Volt in Blythe. Mitch?
Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. the kind of shared industry that would make sense. I'm quite sure PIF are aware of British wool. Whether that's got links to their electric car manufacturers, that's a good question. I don't know. Electric seems to be the way to go long term for all vehicle manufacturers, but at the same time, Saudi very much still control the fossil fuel market. So I think it might be a little longer before we start seeing them walk more firmly down that path, if you ask me. I think there's still things they can explore within the fossil fuel powered cars still, and would be happy to from a personal point of view. But these are potentially the kind of regional tie-ups that could emerge from their commitment to the region. You know, and I think that's something that's always worth keeping in mind of, is that the commitment to the region isn't just about Newcastle United. It isn't just about the football club. It's about regional ties and regional growth and mutual and shared interest, and where everybody wins. And so that would be it's not a big jump to make those kind of links at all, and nor is it daft, in my opinion, because I'm sure they'll be well aware about British Gold, for example.
Okay, I'm going to move on to a different question, because I don't want to get dragged into the sponsorship debate. There's nothing being concrete in that for the last last few months. We know we've got new people in new positions. I genuinely think that will ultimately happen, and we will all be very happy when it does. So I'm going to take another question from someone else before we go to Tweet of the Week. I'm going to take just a simple one. It's a random one from Rob. And Rob, I will ring you over the weekend. I've got a bit of a break this weekend, so I will ring you. Just a random question. What is the panel's favourite home strip of all time? Mine is the Greenall's beer one, because I love the badge on that shirt, says Rob. So, Mitch, your favourite home strip of all time?
The rather unusual thick, thin, half-half shirt, but not the one with the blue star on, the one originally with Greenall's on.
Okay.
Because it made more sense than that.
Steve?
Oh, it's got to be the Grandad shirt. It's got to be the iconic shirt from '95. That's my favourite.
Okay, Keith.
Mine's the Grandad shirt. I thought you were going to say away top as well, because always the dark blue and dark red one. But the Grandad shirt of the same era that Ginola and them wore, with the collar and the brown ale bottle on the middle.
And Joe.
Yeah, as people may not know, I'm a connoisseur of all things Adidas. So to see Adidas and Newcastle Brown Ale and the Newcastle United badge on arguably the best looking shirt the Premier League's ever seen, it's got to be the 95 one.
Mine's the 83-84 top with a blue star in the middle and the old NUFC grey badge. That's my favourite. And that is my favourite away strip as well. The grey one with the thin pinstripe. I love both of them, and I did like the grey one, which came out after that, which was the black and white bar across the middle of the shirt. That was nice, and the Bucked tracksuit top is nice, which the retro people have done over the years. It's white. I'd never buy it because it would just be an absolute nightmare. You'd get a stain on the arm or something, and you'd be like, oh.
Didn't we have a tracksuit top that was the same colour as the T-shirt Mitch is wearing when we went to the 74 final?
Yeah, there's a story behind that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, go on, you tell it.
The squad weren't happy with the tracksuit top supplied by Booker, and so Seymour got the purple ones from his sports shop. He had to have another Booker one, and that's why we ended up with the purple track tops at Wembley in '74.
That's right.
Because the squad objected to the track top that was sent by Booker.
Yep.
There we go. You see, all useless information on this show for you connoisseurs out there. You might have stole your dad's thunder. You might be getting told off when you get back home, Mitch.
Well, you know
that. He's sitting at home. He's watching this, mind. Him and Martin. He'll not be very happy with that. Okay, into Tweet of the Week. Now, most of you will be saying, well, why hasn't he done the day I met? Well, it's because I've got quite a few tweets of the week and I've got a few things to add because I haven't had time to do it yet. So I'm doing tweet of the week first because it's my show and I can't. So here we go. First up, Leeds fans were too loud, so our players couldn't hear each other. It's so unfair. The FA should address this. Yes, Klopp really is getting on everyone's wick, isn't he? He's moaning and he's groaning and he's whinging and he's whining. I don't remember him doing this when he was winning. This one, Larry the Cat glued himself to the floor in protest to Rishi Sunak.
That's a classic, that. Brilliant, that.
I hope he's all right. That's the cat, that is. When you're mentally preparing yourself for a cold toilet seat. I thought that was a perfect picture to show because we've had frost in the northeast today. But yeah, I think we've all done that at some point and then bounced back up and then hovered again. When you know times are hard. Thank you, Wayne. I love this. A chicken carved out of some spam. Yeah, great picture. Great picture, that. And I don't think it's too early for this, Stuart, at all. Seems appropriate, he says, Steve. UEFA Champions League anthem, full version on full blast on Spotify in his car. Fantastic, that, Stu. Lovely. Never get sick of seeing Pickford, and no idea what he's doing here. But he is outside the ground before we played Everton. Miggy Almiron has made tweet of the week a few times this week. Miggy's got more energy than Gazprom, said Swampy. Nick Pope, 4-0 against Villa. Nick Pope was awesome.
He was.
Yeah, fantastic. Paddy Power, feature on here a lot. Goal! 2023 Ballon d'Or winner Miggy Almiron makes it 4-0 to Newcastle. In anticipation of Miggy winning everything. Unai Emery's just seen Villa score.
Classic. Very good.
Absolute classic. James likes to go for the dark side of humour when he sends us these. Tweet of the week, he says, I found my Halloween costume. Kanye West. He's always a bit near to the bone, James, isn't he? I always have to be careful with James's things. When your tattoo artist is Mexican.
Yeah.
Jimmy, that's a classic, by the way. You actually made me giggle when I got that. This one. It's above your head, says Joe Arford. Well, what's he talking about? It's Sue McGrath who says, I'm at a match at Ajax. If anyone can find my scarf. I've had it since I was 5 years old. Please, any help? Joe, that was a bit harsh. The poor lass has lost her scarf. War Miggy. Yeah, I did like that. The Grim Reaper Wayne as well. He did have another one taken out Aston Villa last weekend. The most terrifying moment in life is when the toilet refuses to flush at someone else's house.
Yes.
Definitely. If you blocked it, Jimmy. And my teacher told me not to worry about spelling because in the future there will be autocorrect, and for that I'm eternally grapefruit. Yeah, classic. Halloween this week, of course. All kinds in there, including the Sunderland season ticket. That was definitely the trick.
Yep.
Swampy as well again. Don't think we played that well, but we're strong. Scoring for fun. The league is shitting their pants, and we've got some big players to come back and shitloads of money to spend. And Eddie Howe, unbelievable, Jeff. Swampy coining everything in 140 characters that our fan base is going through right now. Sub on the sorry, I can't think of a natural landmark in Birmingham being the gaping arsehole of this wretched country, said Ian. You can tell when Zara sends some tweets, can't you? That's a brilliant one, by the way. Villa fans with 20 minutes left. Why the hell would you be in a hurry to get back to Birmingham? Said Scarred for life. And this one, parody Rishi Sunak. I've issued a full apology to Gary Glitter, who did not give permission to use his music and does not wish to have his reputation ruined by association with the Conservative Party. Thanks, Rishi. Chris Sutton really loved 6 of 6 tonight. Lots of Manchester United fans called in with some excellent points. There is a bit of an arrogance when they talk about their team and refer to them as just United. There are many other teams called called United, and Newcastle are currently above them.
Correct.
Well said, Chris Sutton. Brilliant tweet. Brilliant tweet and correct.
Love that.
Almiron attempting to win gold, silver and bronze in the Goal of the Month competition, says another journal, Ian Smith. And Kant says the Leeds manager always dresses like he's moving house. I know what you mean. Again, that was another one to giggle at. All things bright and beautiful. There's a bit of singing for you, Julie and Rachel. Hope you enjoyed that.
Okay, well, I used to think
Glorious, wasn't it? Charlie Bennett says Newcastle have spent half as much as Chelsea, 20 million less than Nottingham Forest, and the same amount as Wolves in the summer. Don't let the money argument win.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah, Charlie. Definitely one of the best tweets I've seen this week.
Yeah.
Tweet of the week again from Milburn. I'd rather buy a meat hamper off Jeffrey Dahmer. But what was he replying to? And he says that was because Geordie Shore fans can now paint a party with a cast at the Newcastle bars where the hit show was filmed. That was brilliant. That is a proper laugh out loud one. And when it gets the Keith laugh of approval, you know it's a good one. Eating Out to Help Out, a new scheme that's currently being launched by Rishi as well. Jimmy was back in again with this one. Imagine being rear-ended by this guy. Mel's Hot Dogs. This one. We've got that one. It's this one. Fourth. Liked it. I like that picture. Fantastic. The winner was this one. It did get a lot of people. Due to NUFC inevitably qualifying for the Champions League this season, we're delighted to announce we'll be increasing our European destinations from August 2023. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll also be adding 3 more Greg's official stores. How are the lads? Brilliant stuff. Keep them coming. Love your tweets. If you see any, copy me or the lads in, or just send them to Zara, who nicely packs them all together and sends them in one fell swoop. Thanks, Zara. Love you lots. Thank you very much. Back to the chat now. We have started simultaneously broadcasting on Facebook and on LinkedIn, which you can do now. I know most people like to be in YouTube, which is great. And you can interact with us better on there. But Andrew somehow has found a way of interacting while he's watching on LinkedIn. So we will come to Andrew's question because he's put one every night. And Andrew, much appreciated for sticking your comments out there. All right, lads, do you think Sean Longstaff has a long-term future with the club, or do you think a big signing will replace him? We could say this about a few people, I guess, Mitch, but the question is being asked about Sean Longstaff. Has he got a long-term future?
But he's currently in possession of one of the shirts.
Good point.
And it seems to be, once you're in possession of the shirt, people have to work hard to shift you, provided you are delivering. Is he delivering? I think he's having a fantastic season. And I think he's got room to improve. And will improve under Howe. Any big money signing or any signing coming into that position will have to compete with Sean for the shirt. It's as simple as that. And I think he has the potential, if he develops and kicks on from here now, he could actually end up saving a bloody boatload of cash and allow to use that money elsewhere in the squad. I think he'll remain involved with the squad, even if a big money transfer would come in the midfield, because he's shown this season he's delivering. So more competition can only make him better, and he'll be treated better than he was under the previous manager. There's no doubt about that. So has he got a long-term future? Yes, I do. I think so.
Steve, you look like you're nodding approvingly there.
Oh yeah, almost certainly. I'm nodding approval at what was coming underneath as well about Klopp. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, Sean, yes, he's holding the shirt, but I think there's a nice little partnership opened up between him and Bruno. I think they blend together really well. I think Sean's come on a ton. I think Sean is now becoming the footballer we thought he was a couple of seasons ago before the ankle injury. His movement's better. He's starting out like 2 games ago, some of the runs he was making, if you remember the gaps that were just opening up on Saturday as well, it was a new dimension to his game. I think Sean has the potential to be one of our top performers for the next 2 or 3 seasons, to be perfectly honest. And as I say, that partnership that he's built with Bruno, I think is great. I think they complement each other. And I think also he's one of these footballers, even though he's 25 now, he's one of these lads who is a very, very young 25. And I think he's a sort of footballer that wants to learn every day when he goes in. He wants to learn, and he does learn, and he listens, and he takes it He takes everything on board that he's hearing. He must be a dream for a coach, to be perfectly honest, when you have somebody like that. And he's got a bit of a bubbly personality about him. He works his socks off. And I know that certain aspects of his game that people will criticise, his distribution or his final pass, or that he loses the ball or he makes a pass that you wouldn't imagine. But you got to remember, we're playing so quickly. We're at the top of our game, and that lad doesn't look out of place in that midfield three. So for that reason alone, I would say so.
Okay, Keith, what's your take on Longstaff? Long-term future?
Well, I think for somebody to question it, he's still a young lad, and I don't think he's anywhere near reached his potential. I think people underestimate what Steve Bruce did for him. He just completely blanked him and Matty and give them 2 years of hell. I think it's Sean's character and strength of character that he's come through. But there's one person in the squad who we all rave about, Bruno. You can see he loves playing next to Longstaff. He has a great rapport when Longstaff plays, and he uses Longstaff all the time to ping balls at him and get it back. And Bruno literally finds Longstaff, plays balls at him and 1-2s off him all the time. He's the one player on the team who gets injured by going in for tackles that other people won't go in for. He typically won the header that set Miggy away last week. He's nowhere near he's reached his potential yet. As people are saying on here, he's a very young 25. He's a class act. And you know, if he'd been better managed at Newcastle, he'd been a far bigger and better player now. But he's been badly handled and badly managed by people. But for me, you look at what he can do. You look at people like him. I think Longstaff has got years in this squad. I think he's got. Somebody might come in. We might go and sign a holding midfield player in January. And you look at the kind of people that we're looking at, and you think, well, Longstaff would come out, but Christ, your Murphys of the world, Fraser's, all them would come out before Longstaff for me. He just never. And even some people say sometimes he's controlled, but he never hides. Even when the ball's bouncing off him, he never hides. And I've seen him start games badly, but finish them well. And it's a massive testament of a player when you're having a tough game and balls are bouncing off you, but he just keeps going and he keeps going. And for me, I would put him at like almost at Joe Linton's level for improvement under Eddie Howe. I think Joe Linton's climbed into be a colossus, and Sean Longstaff's climbed from nobody to somebody under Eddie Howe. I think he's a great asset, as Mitch has rightly pointed out. How much would he save you? And what would you pay for a versatile player that can play the positions Longstaff will play? And he's got a shot on him, and he's only going to get better. You know what I mean? Like I'd hate to see us sell him and see him at 28 playing for somebody else, because he's like the Carrick. He's that kind of player that could have that, offer that versatility in Newcastle. So for me, I'd never sell him until maybe he wanted to go. If in time the squad developed into a world-beating squad, he didn't get in. But I think this kid's capable of growing with the squad, and I think he's underrated. And I think he's leagues above. Just my personal opinion, the Murphys and the Frasers. I think Sean Longstaff offers you so much more potential than all them.
Joe, your thoughts, man?
I'm going to agree with Mark Byers. Listen, completely agree. Sean Longstaff's got the shirt. Mitch is right. Sean Longstaff's what we've got. My question would be, so what type of Newcastle United are we still going to be talking about him in 2 years' time? And has he got the time for Eddie Howe to work his magic? Completely disagree with Keith in terms of the transformations up there with Joe Linton. I can't say that. And if we sign Yuri Tielemans in January, does Sean Longstaff keep the shirt? He might do for a couple of weeks. Bruno took his while to get in. Sven Botman took his while to get in. That's good man management. In terms of quality, in terms of pace, in terms of touch, is he good enough to play in the upper echelons of the Premier League? Is he good enough to play in the Champions League? Will he ever wear an England cap? Nah. So listen, you know, he's good at what he does. I'm not entirely sure that this whole, you know, playing alongside Bruno. I'd much rather Kevin De Bruyne be playing next to Bruno, to be honest. So fair play to him. He stuck around. He's done well. Yes, he was ruined under Steve Bruce, as was Matty Longstaff, and that's evident for all to see. He's English. At 25 in the centre of a midfield, yes, he's got a couple of years, but it's not like he's 19. You know, he hasn't got infinite amounts of time. And I'd put him in the same ilk as Murphy and Fraser. I think if there's improvements to be made for this in the squad, it's Longstaff that goes. You know, you see the impact and you see the influence and you see the increase in quality when you're signing people like Bruno Guimaraes. We need more people like Bruno Guimaraes in the middle, not more people like Sean Longstaff.
When you're moving
to the East Standing,
would you keep Murphy? You say you keep Murphy.
I just thought that Joe sounded like one of those lads like I used to sit next to in the East Stand, who I always found someone to complain about. And I thought maybe you're going to shift from the Milburn out at the East Stand.
Joe, you said you'd keep Murphy before Longstaff.
No,
I thought you said. I thought you said at the end you would like with Murphy.
He's in the same. I would put him in the same ilk, Keith. So when you're saying, in terms of that group of players that will be the first lot out.
If you look at the edge of them, a lot of people mistake. Someone said to me the other day, how old's Murphy? He's 28 years, and what's Fraser? Is he 29?
Yeah, maybe older.
And there's a difference. This lad's 25. He's been badly treated for a couple of years. He hasn't. You know, it's funny because the managers before, like Benitez, rated him highly, and Man United rated him. But to me, he's the person who puts a leg in. He's the person who gets, and I think he's improving, and I think I'd like to see him in 2 years under Howe, and I definitely think he's got something off of that squad in more than one position. But I'd say like time will tell, and you know we can go and buy all world beaters, but homegrown player, a lot of commitment, and to me he's a warrior, and I think he'll get stronger.
This is what's good, isn't it? This is what's good because we can have the good thing about football is the different opinions on a footballer, on a player in our own team when we're sitting fourth, top of the league. You know, it's brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
look, I get the point that Mark's making about looking and dallying on the ball and taking an extra touch, but I think that's his confidence, and I think that's getting better and better and better by game. Some of the through balls he started playing are very incisive.
Yeah.
And he seems to be getting caught on the ball less and now starting to catch other people on the ball. See, for example, the way he set Mickey up for the goal at Tottenham. Now, my only problem with him in the squad is I don't think he can play with Shelby.
Good.
I don't think they can play. Them two can play together. So I think we might have if there's a decision to make about the squad place, if somebody else was to come in, I think the choice is going to be Shelby or Longstaff, and I think it'll be Shelby who would go.
What? You think it was Shelby who would go? Yeah. Like get sold?
Yeah, if a big name signing was to come in and we needed to make room in the midfield.
Yeah, I agree. I hope you're right. To me, Shelby's at a level and an age, and you look at the legs he's got. Longstaff's got an engine, and Longstaff's not going to get run out of a game because of pace. He's going to give you like a Carrick kind of performance where he's going to get better and better and stronger. And I think it was one of you just said there something valid. When Longstaff plays, he's like Almiron. Almiron gets all those goals when Bruno dinks over the top and bang, he hits it. When Almiron's got less time to worry. He's clinical. We can just do it. And when Almiron's pushed into a pressure situation, he performs. And I think when Longstaff's given too much time, it's something they'll be coaching him, training him. Imagine what they're doing in training. They'll be throwing balls at him and make him to distribute on the first touch. But I tell you something, I've seen a massive change. I mean, you're talking about working for what is obviously shown to us all a class manager. And you're seeing the benefit. You're seeing the Joe Lintons. You're seeing Fraser, how he's improved. Shart and me's improved. There's a lot of people, but Longstaff's improved massively, and he's come out and said it in the press. He's improved because he's working with a man rather than an idiot. The man he was with is a total nutcase. He's a fruit jacket. And all of a sudden, along comes Longstaff, 25-year-old, Geordie through and through. And what's he doing? He's listening to that man. He's getting to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think he's got something on his side, 25-year-old, that the likes of Fraser and Murphy haven't got, age-wise and from the region. I think that Longstaff has got so much potential to offer a squad. And I think he can play in various positions. So, to me, by God, I hope we keep him.
People in the chat love the fact that we don't have an echo chamber on here, which is great. We can disagree, but we can disagree in a civilized way and have a chat about it, and that's it. Yeah. We're sitting in Champions League positions, and it's a nice problem to have rather than worried about going into a game and potentially being relegated. And it's just a new way of getting to know each other, really, because we haven't been in this position for a long time. Ian says, Steve, can you ask Mitch if I can come over and get on the drink with him when I'm seeing me pal in February, as I reckon I can drink him under the table.
You're welcome.
There's a challenge.
Silly boy.
He says, Ian.
Ian, can I just say one thing here, mate? There's a lot tried.
Yeah, there's a lot tried. 100%. Adam, this is a great question as well. Evening, gents. With Bruno telling fans on Twitter to vote for Miggy for Player of the Month, have you lot ever seen a Newcastle team more together from over the years to now? You know what, Mitch? We're going to constantly draw comparisons between this lot and the 1995 squad because that team, I was working on the doors back in the day, and I saw how together that lot were. They were out. Even the non-drinker Beardsley was out with the players and, chaperoning the ones who were falling by the wayside on a night out, backwards and forwards to their houses in Darras Hall. But all he would have is a bar of chocolate on a night out. So, the camaraderie between the entertainers was great. It still goes on today. They're still best of mates today, turn up at events, golf days, charity events, whatever. But yeah, the difference with this team is there's social media now, and we see social media comments come from them, and whereas in the past maybe some social media accounts run by players or their agents we would take with a pinch of salt because we're thinking, what are they after, what are they trying to do? You're right, and we'll take it one step further. Last weekend's game, we saw Jamal Lascelles come onto the pitch and we saw Trippier sprint 100 yards to the guy and put the armband straight on his arm. And this team is probably the most together team I would say that I've ever seen, and I think it's just starting to surpass the entertainers on that score alone.
We've had this discussion in the last couple of weeks about who should have the captain's armband and who was a captain, and I think with this squad it genuinely doesn't matter. We have got leaders all over that pitch. Everywhere on that pitch we have people who are leaders, not all the same type of leader either. If you look at the interaction between some of the players and the positive interactions that go on, Bruno just leads by example. Simple as that. And that is one of the most gracious things I've seen a professional footballer do in a long time. To say, do you know what? It's nice to be nominated, but vote for me, mate, because he deserves it.
It was outstanding.
And I think he deserves it. That's huge. You look at some of the things that go on the pitch as well. If you saw after Miggy's goal against Villa, Trippier was bombing up the right-hand side to go on the overlap as Miggy's sticking it in the back of the net. So what he does is he just slows down, just his captain's armband, lets a little bit of celebration go, but then if you look what he did to Miggy, he gets hold of Miggy and he pulls him close and he's in his ear for a good 30 seconds. I'd love to know what he said to him. That's a different type of leadership, but still leadership. Leadership for him to turn around and say, no, you're coming on the pitch as club captain. There's your armband, my friend. And Lascelles brings a different type of leadership that he's shown in the past. He must still be doing something inside that dressing room because he still retains the respect of everybody, and that's a significant thing to be able to do that when he's not commanding the first team place necessarily. Yet he's still respected by everybody to a high degree. And that comes in part from leaders like Trippier being gracious enough to say, yeah, you're the team captain, there's your armband. Callum Wilson leads our front line, but he's also another leader in so many ways. And the list seems to go on and on. That there's so many different ways to be a leader. And we seem to have every type of leader and positive influence sat in our dressing room at the moment. And it starts with Eddie Howe. And that just is absolutely in the whole DNA of our squad now. And that's what I find amazing about it. Yeah, we've had that in similar times with entertainers and subsequent squads. You know, you certainly could say we had a team full of leaders when we had Shearer, Lee, Speed, and so on and so on and so on kicking around the dressing room. And we've got an abundance of that kind of positivity and influence in my dressing room right now, and it's good to see we're making the most of that, and that's driving and influencing the performances on the pitch significantly. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, somebody's asked the question as well, which I expected quite quickly, to be fair, after we started discussing this. So, Mitch, I'll ask you, as I go around the board, who do you think would win a game, the Entertainers or this team? I think it would be a high-scoring draw, Mitch.
I think just because of one man and one man alone, a certain number 9 would be the Entertainers team.
Okay.
But this lot would give them a pretty good game. They certainly wouldn't be beaten on spirit.
No, definitely not. Okay, Steve, your take on this whole attitude thing, I guess, from the players. Is there been a more together team than this one? And give us your little prediction at the end of it.
Whether there's been a more together team, I agree with Mitch. The Entertainers, 95, 96, that 97 on up to then, that team gelled. What there was in that team were some hard men who would, if there was any ego suddenly appeared in the dressing room, would have kicked it out straight through the back door, and you wouldn't have got back in again. This team doesn't seem to have egos. This team has come up together. You know, we've added and blended it with bringing in Bruno in January at a time when we know we're struggling. Same with Trippier. They've come in, players have respected them, they've seen them do a job, and it seems to have gelled because of the characters of those players. And a lot of that has to go to Eddie Howe in terms of who he picked and who he didn't pick for his signings. But what you've got is you've got a really decent bunch, what seem to have among them a camaraderie. You can see it when there's an incident and they're all there. Everybody's come out of their shell and we're winning. And that helps an awful lot. We're winning games. We're playing together as a team. All important for to get that blend right. It must be great for a manager when you've got a squad of players. When you're winning games, you've got no egos in the squad, and they're all celebrating together. You know, there's nobody going, well, it was me that scored. I've now got 6. How many of you got? All of that type of thing. You get the impression with this lot that does not go on in the changing room. And when you see the comment from Bruno, please vote for me, mate, don't vote for me, even though I would love to win it, that tells you an awful lot. I think, yeah, an Alan Shearer and a Les Ferdinand up front playing against Shaw and Botman. I'd love to see that. That would be some occasion, wouldn't it? See how they could cope. But I'd also like to see John Beresford up against Alan St. Maximin, because again, that would be something to behold, wouldn't it? See John chasing them all over the pitch. See how many times he kicked him in the first 20 minutes, etc., etc. So no, different eras, different times, but same mental attitude, same camaraderie. We're just lucky. I feel lucky that I'm watching this team now, and I had the opportunity to watch the Entertainers.
Prediction between the two?
You know what? I'll go for a high-scoring 4-4 draw.
Yeah, me too. Okay, Keith.
Christ, how do you compare two teams like that?
I know, it's mental, isn't it? It's mental. Somebody said, we could go on all night with this, because somebody said, would the 95 team have won the league if Eddie Howe had been managing it? I mean, there's another dimension to this. But yeah, stick to the original 2 points, Keith.
It's when you list the first team down, And you're right, you know, I just stuck 4 names down: Ginola, Beardsley, Shearer, Ferdinand. When you're talking about you're talking about in the era, you're talking about like megastars, you know, that like they were huge names in football. I mean, Alan Shearer and Les Ferdinand was biggest centre forwards in the day. Beardsley was a world diamond, and Ginola was an international superstar in football. And then you put names below, and you put Wilson, Almiron, Joe Linton, Longstaff. Doesn't have anywhere near the same oomph. But got to say it, yeah, these people, you know, that was a brilliant era to watch football. You know what I mean? We went there, we went home and away, and I mean home and away, going abroad. You went any football ground in England, and you were everybody's second favourite team. And even when you were beating people, they were clapping at you. It was just a really well received and a brilliant football team to watch. These people that we've got now, you'll never get that again because we were the poor man's club back then, and now we're the rich man's club. So there's that animosity towards this group we've got now. But as far as workmanship goes, I don't think you can. I've never seen, you know, I've been going since 1969, and I haven't seen a group of players, and I would never be so rude or so stupid to use the word average, but I'm saying underrated players. Like, I've never seen anybody get more out of a Dan Burn than what we've got. You know, if you talk about a brilliant signing, he must be one of the best signings. He must be in the Robert Lee mold. You know, like you bring a bloke in. I mean, is he not our client where he just came in and he was like a nobody that you know, was like somebody who played for Brighton, and he'd been bombed out to Darwin. But nah, Christ, he's not about taking the World Cup. And when I look at the two sides, it's so different. That side, Kevin Keegan littered with superstars, you know, and Keegan was my hero and still is. And he put superstars in that team. You know, when he brought in Asprey, he was bringing in huge players. But this squad, despite the money that we've got, isn't in that category yet. It's nowhere near that category. So I think you're comparing a finished article in the Entertainers with a work in progress. I think there's a huge difference between what's been spent then, was the finished job. You know, we should have won the league and we didn't. Now, we will win the league, but it's going to take time. When you look at the two together, I wore my shirt with pride then, you know, like there was never a better time to support Newcastle then. But by God, what these kids, this seems more structured. This seems as though if you watch how quick them Entertainers crumbled when Dalglish and them come in, and you watch that shortly after that era, you had the era of Dyer having a fight on the pitch with another player. You had Bellamy getting slapped around in dressing rooms. So it's a great, still good football. There's still people getting England caps, and Welsh caps. But what I'm saying is, this now seems longer term. This now seems as though the building blocks are going in. This seems as though this is going to last longer, if you know what I mean. So Mitch is it on the head, you know, would it be a high-scoring game? I'm not too sure with the team now, this team we've got now, would let the Entertainers score as many. These lads have conceded 9 goals this year, and they've come up against some pretty meaty people. And I think we're better now. We conceded 5 of those goals against Man City and Liverpool. Seriously, Man City, I think we caught ourselves out. I think we were that good. We shit ourselves. What the hell are we doing here? And then we let them get back into it. And then we took our eye off Haaland. Liverpool was a con. We were ripped off by VAR. You take them 2 games out, we've let in 4 goals. It's incredible. So don't underestimate what these people do, because this team is a total workman-like team. This team, everybody knows his task. This team is coached so well. And to me, the respect I would give the current squad is if they played the entertainers, I think it would be a low scoring draw. I think it'd be a 1-1 or 2-2 at most because this team's not finished. That entertainers team was sublime and were at the best. And yeah, they had the ability to beat anybody that day. But that team conceded, like they did at Liverpool 4-3, and like they did against when we went to Forest, we let goals in. This team now, until they start leaking, you can't knock them. They're rock solid. At Spurs, you know, for 10 minutes we looked weak and we looked as though we were open at the back, and then they locked it down. And there was only one team going to win that game. This team, Eddie Howe was featured today saying when he came out of football, he went to Atletico Bilbao, he went to Liverpool, he went to Chelsea. I mean, he didn't go to some shabby clubs, and he learned football. He learned what had gone wrong at Bournemouth. He learned why he conceded as many goals, and then he concentrated on his defence. I'll tell you something. Everybody that's looking for signings this season is looking for forwards. You're looking for strikers or midfield players. You're looking for wingers. You're looking for Madisons. But nobody's looking for centre halves. Nobody's. If anything, we might go for an orthodox left back or we might get another reserve goal. Nobody's saying, shit, we need 2 centre halves and a fullback like we used to. It's the first time for a long, long time that on Newcastle side being able to say we're strong at central defence. And the rumour today is that they'll take 10 million for Lascelles in the close season, and then obviously bring youth through. So to me, don't underestimate this squad. This squad we've got now are the building blocks for a great squad that'll last a long time.
Joe, it's an interesting debate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And you know, we're talking about what was the best team. Yeah. I have to say, the second best team England have ever seen. Certainly the best Newcastle United team I've ever seen. And we're having a conversation about our current team in the same breath. If you just think about that for a minute, that's phenomenal in itself. Who'd have thought that entertainers side, we never go anywhere near it ever again. Yes, we had some decent players, or, you know, if you think about that Alan Pardew side, you know, Kabai and Cisse for that half a season, Demba Ba, you know, Sissoko, that was a decent side. It was nowhere near the entertainers side, and certainly nowhere near the team that we're watching today. So I was just thinking of, you know, the names that you're reeling off there and thinking, wow, can you imagine? I don't equate, Alan, funny enough, I don't equate Shearer and Ferdinand with the entertainers. I always think of the original entertainers, which was Pedro and Andy Cole up front.
Which is true.
You know, and that was one hell of a side. My footballing hero, Robert Lee. You know, I'd love to see him clattering into Bruno and see how that worked out. It's fantastic, lads. But you know, this side is, Keith's right. This side much more disciplined. It's much more organised. I get the sense, as much as you talked about the camaraderie, Steve, and you know the atmosphere around the squad back in the good old days. But you know, it doesn't look like it's a patch on this side. Has Eddie Howe got the tactical nous over Kevin Keegan? Probably. We talked about Graham Jones's influence last week, and how does that compare to Terry Mack? We've got a good goalkeeper now. We had a fantastic goalkeeper then. So, but I just, it's amazing listening to you, just thinking, Christ, we're imagine having this conversation 2 seasons ago. We'd have been laughed off after 30 seconds. You know, we'd have been, the show would have finished now. So I was going to sit on the fence and say, I think it'd be a draw. But I have to just go with my heart. I absolutely adored that entertainers side. Everybody knows my feelings around Cole and you know, and Pedro up front, Lee Clark in behind, Robert Lee next to him. It'd be class, but the entertainers would win 7-0.
You know what? 7-0. He's on drugs.
You're doing all right. You got to the prediction.
You know what, guys?
All right.
The only thing I can guarantee saying is that if Kevin Keegan was managing this team and would go into the window in the break, third top, he'd definitely go out and buy another player. He'd definitely be going out and buying somebody. You just, because that was what Kevin was like. With Eddie Howe, I know Keith thinks we're going to get maybe 1 or 2 players, but with Eddie Howe, I'm not too sure we will. I think we might keep his powder dry. But if it was Kevin in charge, you were guaranteed that he'd be going out and buying somebody in the January transfer window.
But the Keegan's thoughts on that is perfect. Is the best time to attack somebody is when you're on top.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Steve spent a life in boxing, and the good boxers, Steve, when they get on top, that's when they get stronger.
Yeah,
and that's when they get more dangerous. And how many times you seen a boxer on top and then he withdraws and he stands and goes on the ropes? There's only Ali that did that properly. But when you sit there and look at it, the best time to buy players is when you've got a good, strong squad. And I tell you, the worst. I've supported Newcastle since 1969, and the worst time to buy players is when you're desperate. Because I'll tell you what, we've bought some horse shit. And you know what I mean? Like every time we bought a Stefan Givaert or Andreas Anderson or a Tom or a Frank Pingle, it was when we desperately needed a centre forward. We needed a centre forward to breathe. But I'll tell you something: if Eddie Howe goes and buys Grimaldo out of Benfica in the close season in January, and he brings him in, 27-year-old, coming up on a free transfer soon, and you think, why has he bought left back? We've got Dan Burn, we've got Target. You hire him in there and you see what floats to the top and you see who comes out to the side. And that's how great squads are built. When you're strong, you know what I mean? Build your foundations. When you're strong, keep adding and look at the ages of your people. And you know, I drew a list. I was talking with my pal, this list and we're talking about players today. And I wrote 7 people down, and only one was 27-year-old. One was 25, and all the others were 21 to 23. And that's a massive thing. And that's who Newcastle have become now. And in Keegan's, I mean, he's good to me, full stop. But in his day, he would still go out and buy someone 30-year-old. And if you notice, the Man United's, and they do things like that. They bring people in, and you sit there and think, Christ, he's a good age, and they bring them in. And this project is more longer term. This project is about Botmans. You know what I mean? You look at that lad, and how much football has he got to produce, and how good is he going to get? And when you look today, and I was reading the paper today, and Van Dijk's 32 or 31, 32, and Botman's 22 or something. You think, holy shit. You know, like to me, Shah, we want to be looking for his replacement, and that's, you know, if Lascelles went for 10 million, let's put a young one on the bench who's going to be the next, you know, some for Botman and Shah to coach into it all, and that's where this squad excites me. This is long term thinking, but it's the youth, it's the people they target. And say I picked 7 players who I thought they would go for. And there was only one was 27. I tell you, it was Trossard. You know what I mean? I thought he's 27-year-old, but and he's a world beater. But when you look at him, people talk about Tielemans. He's only 25. Tielemans. You know, and you look at that, you think that's where Newcastle have got. We're not supposed to be as good as we are yet. So Newcastle should now be going getting all the best 21, 22, 23-year-olds and let it happen. And if it takes 2 years or 3 years, and our 22-year-olds are only 25, that's the way to do it.
Good points, well made. Unbelievable figures tonight, guys. 626 in the chat. Thank you, everybody. Never take your support for granted.
Jeez.
Great that you've all tuned in on a Friday night. Fireworks are going off. People not realise it's not the 5th of November. I never understand this fascination of setting them off for the full 2 weeks previous to it. Here we go. The day I met. So this is the day I met, where we ask you to send in photographs of you meeting famous Newcastle United players, managers, the cleaner, the security guard, whoever you can, but please send them over. Rachel, Thanks for this little beauty of you and Pedro. Glad to hear that the play went well as well. Rachel's been one of our mods from way back in the very start. And I found out the date actually when we first broadcast on YouTube, the 20th of May, 2020. Me and Mitch did our very first show on YouTube. So there you go. That's the actual anniversary date, the 20th of May. And another man, Andy Hamilton, in the chat. I think he's in the chat tonight, actually. He says, thank you for the photo to Super Mac. And he says, I was with Malcolm at the Dog and Parrot for the pre-match. So there we go. Lovely photograph. And he sent that in to Malcolm. So thanks for that. Thanks for passing that on. So the day I met, send your photographs in. We'll get them featured on the show. Thanks very much. And John from QTech, as you know, always does his monthly competition. And here is your first clue, ladies and gentlemen. 16th of October, 1929. That's it. That's your first clue. You'll get 3 more clues, a question at the end of it, and a chance to win a prize on NUFC Matters. So thanks very much for that, John. And the next Food Bank T-shirt that's going up is this Peter Beardsley beauty of Peter running off the pitch after securing promotion in 83-84 at Huddersfield. I bet you those fans probably recognise themselves as well. Amazing bit of history, that great photograph. That is our Food Bank T-shirt this week. I'll stick it up on Twitter and you will be able to bid underneath. Just follow me on Twitter at Steve Wraith and get bidding. Okay, lots of great questions coming in as the cat starts to go mental in the background. If it's not Joe's bullfrogs, it's my cat. Nathan asks this question. Could you ask if we were to qualify for the European Champions League this season, do you think that could have a negative effect next season? We don't have the squad depth that others do. So we're all getting carried away, Mitch, about being in European positions. Is it going to be a bad thing?
How can we qualify for the Champions League ever be a bad thing? And what it would do, I think the owners recognise very clearly that would need strengthening to be able to compete at all levels going forward. They wouldn't want to be dumped out the Champions League unceremoniously the first time they get Newcastle into it. They wouldn't want the embarrassment of that. I think it would change the transfer policy. I think it would change the dynamics of the transfer policy, because also it changes our income on FFP massively. So I think everybody at the club would see qualifications for the Champions League as an opportunity, not a threat, and an opportunity to make Newcastle United bigger, better, and stronger.
Steve, your take on the Champions League?
I've got a list of at least 10 players that I know if we got into the Champions League, we would be out in an instant. Put it that way. I think that's what would happen. I think you would see a complete turnaround in that squad. I think the 10 to 12 players who are not getting a look in at the moment, and I've got a list here. I'm thinking Lascelles, Darlow, Shelby, Fraser, Gillespie, Dummett, Kraft, Lewis, Manquillo, Ritchie. You know, they would be gone in an instant if we got into the Champions League.
Yeah,
no question. And then you start looking at bringing quality in to replace them that are going to put the main squad, the main bunch of players that Eddie has stuck with this season, putting them under real pressure. So that's what Champions League football would bring. It would bring a whole new dimension to that squad.
I think it would fit Eddie's formula as long as none of them are dickheads.
Yes.
Keith, Champions League, it's a positive, isn't it? Anyone getting into the Champions League. And yeah, we might not be, ripping, the results that we're doing now and being up there again, but we might be, who knows?
It's a massive positive. And these people are football fans, but primarily all 3 parts of the group, PIF, the Rubens, and Amanda and Medad, are business people. They're all football fans now, but the business people predominantly. And whenever you get a business opportunity that comes quicker, real business people don't pass up on that. What they do is they grasp it. And if the results go as they're going now, what it'll do, it'll give a financial opportunity for Newcastle to do things quicker. We as fans, we all delighted with the pace it's taken. And if it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get to the top, all of us, you've watched it for 34, 35, 36 years. You're not going to worry about the next 3, 4, 5. So we're all going to sit patiently and watch it. But as business people, it doesn't work the same way. When you in businesses, sometimes you get opportunities, and 10 years ago they'd say, "What is FPP? What does that mean? Why can you not just go and spend what you want?" And things change in business. Neil might be working in dentistry, and he might find a new law comes in which changes the number of hours you've got to work, or it might change the health and safety of it, and it might mean you've got to employ more people to tend to one person under the healthcare rules. So you've got to act in business with what's in front of you. And if in business you find yourself in January 4th in the table, you then have a duty of care to yourselves, to your investors, and to your own funds to go out and act accordingly. So if I honestly think Newcastle could beat Southampton, and I think we could beat Chelsea. If we do, there's no guarantee Tottenham will do Liverpool this weekend. And if that's the case, Newcastle could go to the winter close down in third. And it's a scary thought, but it's a sobering thought, because that would then, I'm certain that the buyers will go and buy, the owners will go and buy some new players in January. I think we're going to add to it. And I think it's because how well they've done. And I think it will be a just reward for the coaches to be given more tools to work with for excelling in their performance. So I think because they've got this squad to 4th in the table, and they've been robbed by VAR, I think it would then follow that the owners would say, look, I mean, PIF would say, come on, he's done better than we thought he would do. Give him some more players, and let's see how good this Eddie Howe is. Let's see how good this coaching squad is. And when I look at the players, you'd only need 2 players out of like Trossard, McAllister, Caicedo, Diaby, Maddison, Hidara, those kind of players. You notice I haven't said Mbappe, and I haven't said Harry Kane, and I haven't said Ronaldo. I haven't gone for the people that's on, 400, Frankie de Jong, 700,000 a week and things like that. What I'm talking about is people that can be bought for 35 to 75 million. And in this market, that's a cut below what the Man Cities and the Liverpools tend to go for. You know what I mean? Man United go for bigger players than what we're going for. But I believe this will go and land another 2 people from that bracket, from your 35 to 75 million pound. I think we'll land 2 in January. And I think they'll take Newcastle next league. I think it'll cement them. I honestly do. I think 2 class players in January, you're going to get Isak back. You're going to get St. Maximin back. You're going to get less pressure on your Wilsons. You're going to be able to take these players off during the game and rest them. And instead, so I mean, Trippier, people like that must be knackered. They're playing game after game after game. You get 2 class players in there. You put a Diaby in there, or you put a Caicedo in that midfield, and you'll be able to take Bruno off, and you'll be able to rest them for certain games. And I really do think 2 players in January, and I think you'll get 4th. I said at the start of the season 5th. I think 2 class players in January, you'll get 4th, and who's saying who won't finish 3rd this year? I think that is, I think there'll be 2 teams will pip us. But I'll tell you something, come the summer next season, these people are business people, and I think they'll go again. And I think next summer's window will be massive. And I honestly think the way Howe's doing it, and the way this squad's gelling, and the way the fans are just happy with what they're delivering, I can see us. I do think we'll get Champions League in the next 12 months. I really do. And I know you get shut down, and Steve Wraith is the brightest one. He always says, never put your head up because you'll get shut down. But I think Newcastle can get a top 4 finish this year. I really
Yeah, I don't often get my head shut off for being for making a prediction or whatever. I've got to be honest. I think it's just great to be in this position. I mean, I think collectively NUFC Matters has been criticised at times for being negative, and that I think I don't watch the shows back. I haven't got time. I'm too busy making new content. But I think we've always been realistic, and I think we've always been pessimistic, maybe at times, but not critical unless we've had to be. And usually when we've been critical, people have been critical of the same thing. But I think ultimately with what we've got at the moment, the only thing we can ever find to disagree with is a certain player selection, because we've got a great problem, and we're not getting paid to do the job. Eddie Howe is, and he's doing a bloody good job, and honestly, if there's any of it, I don't have time to watch the other podcasts. I can't believe anyone will find anything to be negative about. I really don't. And why be negative? We've had 14 or 15 years of either talking on TV, writing in fanzines, writing for newspapers, writing for blogs, or, chatting on, radio shows and the locality or national. And all we've had to talk about is negative stuff. It's actually great to come on a show like this after you've done a day's graft, whether you're a dentist, whether you're an actor, whether you're a showboy, whether you're a businessman, whether you're working with a community, whatever, to be able to come on here, sit with your pals and talk about Newcastle potentially qualifying for the Champions League or winning the cup. It's absolutely mental, Joe, isn't it? And we should all just be beaming, you know what I mean? Because Newcastle United is about, it's a hobby, it's a passion, it's part of you, part of your fibre, part of what you are. But that part of your life should actually be a joy at the minute, because we're winning games week in, week out. We've got fantastic players, we're entertaining, and we really should just be happy. Do you know what I mean? And there's no need to be negative.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, go back to the comment, we've just been likening the current setup to the entertainers side. And now what we're talking about is, Champions League football. It's immense. And I agree. Listen, football and footballers will always split opinion, isn't it? But isn't it nice to say, I think we should start with Isaac up front. No, I think we should start with Sam Maximin up front. When was the last time we were talking like this? It's utterly brilliant. I wonder, from a business point of view, you do your projections, don't you? You understand where you've come from, you understand where you're at now, but you certainly look at where we're going to be in 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. I'm sure that's wrote down in a vault inside St. James's Park somewhere. And very much like Amanda was talking a lot about, there was a possibility that Newcastle would have went down. And if Newcastle had have gone down, there would have been a plan. Thankfully, we didn't go down, and here we are. So I wonder if there's this season, if we finish 10th, fantastic. And then we'll go and do that building that Keith's talking about. But I wonder if there's a plan written somewhere to say, hang on, we're actually a hell of a lot better than 10th. We're a hell of a lot better than 7th. And as Keith's just said, potentially, we're a top 4, top 3 side. And if we keep winning, if this momentum keeps going, if we buy James Maddison and Tielemans or whoever it's going to be in January, Pato might have a point. And all of a sudden then, Plan B got to come out because, yes, I understand that Champions League football, as we sit here now, would have a massively detrimental effect on the side. And would this current team and would this current squad be sitting 4th, 3rd in the Premier League if we were playing every Wednesday night as well? Arguably not, because we don't have that strength in depth. But you can guarantee there'll be a list of players, and whether it matches the ones that the guys have got, that will be a case of, if Eddie Howe pulls 4th off here, we've got to go out and we've got to sign 6 footballers, and not only 6 footballers, 6 international footballers, because there's no point Newcastle yo-yoing in and out of the Champions League. They've got to stay there. And this is why, going back to why we're such a massive threat to the likes of Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United et al., they're bankrolling they're mortgaging their clubs on Champions League football. Little old Newcastle United get there, and all of a sudden their business models go out the window. So I think for me, Mitch's first point was spot on. Would the Champions League ever be a bad thing? Of course it wouldn't. To see Barcelona, etc., back at St. James's Park, into Milan, wow, those days are coming. Will it come next season? Pato, I hope you're right, mate. I genuinely hope you're right. But I agree. If we have to wait 18 months for it, if I have to wait 2 years for it, I've waited nearly 40 years of my life waiting for it. I'll wait another 2.
I didn't think you were that old, Joe.
Don't get us wrong, Joe. You know, when you talk about like a football team. People like me, Dad, he'll have a business decision to make. If Newcastle finished 4th, or let's suppose they finished 5th, you've got to make a decision. Who do I have to bring in to keep the likes of Camaraderie? So you know, we've heard this week that Camaraderie will be targeted by Man United, Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and you laugh because you think, why would you want to go to Man United? But to say that as a Newcastle fan, why would somebody want to go to Man United? It's like coming on planet Zog. It's like I've never been to say that in my life. You know, why would somebody want to go to Man United? I read an article today about a lad called Kettler, and world beater. I think he scored 21 and made 13 goals or something, and ends up on a 35 million transfer to Milan. Goes to AC Milan, and then he plays under the Italian press, and they torture him. They basically butcher him because I think he's made 3 goals. It just hasn't happened. He's 21-year-old. If that kid had a tattoo on his head tomorrow, it'd say, I need Eddie Howe. Because he needs a culture and a camaraderie that Bruno Guimaraes has just demonstrated when he said, don't vote for me. I mean, what a clever man. Don't vote for me in Trippier because you'll split the vote between 3 Newcastle players. Vote for Miggy because I'll win it again, and this is Miggy's time, and Miggy's just it's going to make Miggy an even better player. What a cracking decision! So De Bruyne doesn't get all the Man City votes, and us lot don't split in Newcastle votes. What a clever move! But this Kettler is 21-year-old, was a world beater, has a season in Milan, and all of a sudden he's not a world beater. And they're saying 2 clubs made an inquiry, Newcastle and Leeds. It was great to pick the paper up and say, but when you look at the league positions in Newcastle and Leeds, there's only one place he'd go. I've never been able to pick that paper up since Keegan was here and read shit like that. And I'm looking going, well, why would you want to go to Leeds? But I actually genuinely think, why would you want to go to Man United now? To spend force. It's you know, you've got the Glazers, you've got all that horse shit to deal with. Liverpool, you know, like I don't think they're having a tumble. I do think Liverpool, Man United will come back this season. I think them 2 teams will come back with better results. They cannot do worse. But I honestly think Newcastle are better than them. I think that Newcastle are capable of standing toe to toe with them. And if you said to me, who are you frightened of in the league? I never thought I'd say it last season. Arsenal looking good, and Man City. But Chelsea's trouble, Spurs. When we were down there last week against Spurs, I was sat there getting told to shut up because I was going, we've got these. Like during the game, we've got these. You won't stop. And I was giving a commentary through the game in the director's box, getting pelters at us. And I was going, I tell you what, you're not as good as I thought you were. But the reality in Newcastle is we are 4th on merit. If VAR wasn't a heap of shit, we'd probably be 2nd. But the reality is, we've and a load of money to spend, and we only spend as much as others. So we go out and buy a couple of class players, bring a Diaby and bring a Madison in, and bring this Kettler in, who apparently was 35 million, now you can get him for 20-something million. I tell you what, Newcastle's then because, who are you going to bring off the bench? You'll have 2 or 3 cracking players come off the bench. I haven't mentioned St. Maxi yet. I haven't mentioned Isaac yet. Seriously, because when we look at our bench, you think, oh, shit, who we're going to bring on? Very soon, you know, we talk about Champions League, Joe, you're going to look at the bench and say, any of them 3 can get goals. That sat in there, they'll be biting at the gunnels to try and get on this pitch. I tell you what, this is an exciting time. But to me, I started this year, the optimist, saying we could finish 5th. I personally think we'll finish 4th or better.
Love it. I love it. And where Newcastle and we're going to win the league, I think, is starting to get louder and louder at each match as well. Fantastic. Big up to Alfie Dobson in the chat. Been good working with you this week, mate. We've got a lot more to do on this film, but thanks for tuning in. We're not going to get around to all these questions, and we've got the chat is growing ever bigger. 648 we've hit there tonight. So massive numbers, which is great. Thank you. Let's give you all a little bit of a laugh with Elliot. My wife says that I no longer do things that take her breath away. So I've hidden her inhaler.
That's the best one for months. Elliot, I love it. I love it. That's a belt of that, like.
You can tell when he's having bother with his last leg, because I'm sure that's when he puts these nuggets out there. Like, it comes to us all, mate. But you get over those hills, mate. And we'll keep the laughter going. I think with two lookalikes. Yep, two lookalike, and John from QTech was straight in with one of his special designs. Can you think of who we may have designed here? Yes, lookalike. He says it's a young Steve Hasty in the Newcastle exhibition advert. Thanks, John. Nice little prep there, but we don't like those. They're too posh and too, sensible. Joe Walker in the official NUFC Matters chat, when things were getting on top this week, he says, there's only one thing to do at a time like this. Look at Steve Hasty.
Look at Hasty's face now. God bless.
And this one.
There we go.
Lovely that, Joe. Thanks for sharing them, Joe. Now, Stephen Kennedy's been getting a bit frustrated because he cannot seem to get through to the show. So we tried Facebook. He says, Steve Wraith, I posted a few lookalikes lately that have been missed. So he says, double barrel, Twitter and Facebook attempt for this one. I'm at hospital and I bumped into Steve Hasty and he's Sunday best, says David Hook. Thanks, David Hook. Thank you. And this one, Andrew Harbert popped to the zoo and I saw a couple of Steve Hasty lookalikes. This one, just how old is Steve Hasty, says Stephen Kennedy. He has a Victorian Halloween postcard with him in charge of the catering.
I'm still betting the catering at St. James's Park, I tell you.
Go on, Hasty lad. Get a run.
Sam Chipperfield says Steve Hasty's face when the dreaded trip to the barbers arrives. He then follows it up with, it actually looks like him. It's frightening.
I meet you. A marked man.
He's a marked man. Andy Cooper, thanks for this. Steve Hasty showing some moves. Don't know if you can use this as a tune lookalike.
That is my dog. That's my dog, that. You even got my own dog in it.
Time traveling Premier League juniors. I like this one. This was good. Cheers, Stephen. James Darkowski, back centre, and Jack Grealish, far left, gate crashing a 1920s Halloween party. Hey, very good. This one, he says, just how long was it that long ago that you lads started the show? I can hardly recognise you. He's got me, Mitch and Hasty there. Lookalikes wouldn't be lookalikes without Albert. He says, Keith says he's got more chance of a curly perm than us selling Bruno. He says, I'm worried. Good old Albert. Albert was also in a bit of a Halloween mood, so he decided to do a few of his things. He's got Keith there.
Oh, my God.
And he did a Keith special. Good morning from Keith. I'm always laughing now, Keith, but you were a bloody misery as a kid, he says. And this is what he had at his front door.
Oh, my God. Oh, wait. I'm getting some stick off of it. Like.
Monday night, of course, was a good night. We always have the Monday club. I found a lookalike on there. Joe. Very good, mate. Very, very good. This one, Stu and Uncle Fester. This is from Rita Oxley, who's becoming a bit of a legend on these. Keith and the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, my God. Rita. I've got a heart in here. I could be hurt, you know.
Hellboy and Mitch.
Same haircut.
Nosferatu and Steve. And Grandad Munster and George. George, that's the first time you've been in a lookalike. That's hilarious.
George,
we need some more George lookalikes. Monster from Young Frankenstein and Steve Wilkinson.
Oh,
Lurch and Big Dan Byrne.
Yeah.
And Steve Hasty and Steve Hasty. Lookalikes, Phil Collins and Forrest Gump. Thanks for Rocky Tune. That's a good one. We're going back to the. You see, we're now starting to hit proper lookalikes again. This one, Roy Keane and Mohammed. I couldn't even present his name. He's the president of Iran. We'll just call him Amen. But yes, good lookalike. This one, David Albert and Kingsley Coleman. Very good. That's almost separated the birth kind of material. As is this one, Mickey and Wiggy. Thanks, Albert.
Mickey and Wiggy.
What futures these little ones had, said Albert. One would be an actor-director, one a gobshite dentist, one a noddy holder lookalike, and finally the last one, the human version of the laughing policeman. Thanks, Albert. Brilliant stuff this week. Serial winner and serial killer lookalike Jurgen Klopp and Jeffrey Dahmer from Sutty. Very good. That. Coming down to the last few now. This one, Mr. Wilson Bailey Patrick from London Kills. And our good friend Callum Wilson.
Good one, that.
And lookalikes, it may be a little too obscure for non-nerds, but I'm a huge one, says Michael. Keith Patterson and Tunbury from Final Fantasy Universe. Steve's laughing away at that one. Okay, your top three.
The dogs.
Nobby and Herb Alpert and their Tijuna Brass Friday lookalike. That's very good.
That is good. That. Herb
Excellent.
Albert.
Good selection, that one. That's a proper one. Number two, Jurgen Klopp and Bingo. Banana split, even the same classes. And number one this week is this one. Ericsson and Tintin.
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
I think that was Tom Dixon who sent that one in. So thanks, Tom. Keep the lookalikes coming in. You know where to send them. We'll get them on the show. And next week. So Newcastle United play Southampton away. The trek to St Mary's is on Sunday. This is their penultimate Premier League game before the World Cup final start. It's a 2:00 kickoff. All 3,200 away tickets are now sold. 2-1 victors there last March. Newcastle have lost just one of their last 5 visits. They've never won successive away games at Southampton. Southampton have beaten Newcastle just once in the last 10 home and away meetings of the two clubs. Joe Linton, as we've already talked about, is serving a 1-match ban after his 5th booking of the season. If he does play John Joe Shelby, this will be his 200th appearance in League and Cup for the club, which, of course, as we all know, triggers the automatic contract extension. Also, assuming they retain their places in the starting lineup, Fabian Schär will make his 100th start. I couldn't believe that. And Callum Wilson will make his 50th start, both in all competitions. After the opening 6 away games of the season, Newcastle's tally of 9 points from 2 wins and 3 draws already matches the total from the entire 19 away games of the 2015-16 campaign. As for Southampton, well, Kyle Walker-Peters and Valentino Livramento are both out. Stu Armstrong and Armel Bella-Kotchap are doubtful. Romeo Lavia is fit again. He played 45 minutes for the under-21s last weekend. He might be included in Sunday's squad. And Theo Walcott scored a hat-trick in the same match, but he's just played 17 minutes in the Premier League this season. As for Southampton, well, they've got 6 points from a possible 18 at home. They beat Chelsea 2-1. They've drawn with Leeds 2-2. West Ham and Arsenal both 1-1. And they've been beaten at home by Manchester United and Everton. God, Keith is still going. Referee is Stuart Atwell. This is the first time he's been in charge of our game since our 5-0 reverse at Manchester City last season. And on VAR, it's all about him. It is Mike Dean. We haven't had him for a while, have we? But Mike Dean. So, as we always do, we bring in Toon Stato for his stats on the game.
Hello, lads and lasses. So Newcastle plays Southampton on Sunday. So far, Newcastle have gathered 24 points from 13 games, their 5th best achievement in the Premier League. The record still is the 95-96 season with 34 after 13. In all of the 4 previous instances that we have started so well, between 34 to 26 points, Newcastle has finished in top 6. We play Southampton away, and funny and weird stat is that Newcastle has never won 2 consecutive games away from home at Southampton in the entire league history. We know that we won there last season, so let's see if we can make it a first. Actually, we have won 2 of the last 3 games there at Southampton, which is equal to the number of wins we got in the previous 31 meetings. At the same time, Southampton has won only 1 out of the last 10 games against Newcastle. And all we know, they're not having a great season so far. Last week against Aston Villa, Joelinton scored goal number 1,400 for Newcastle in the Premier League. Miguel Almiron scored 1,300 2 years ago against West Bromwich. Famously, Demba Ba back in 2012 scored goal number 1,000. So let's see how many we can score on Sunday, given the fact that Newcastle has scored 4 or more in 3 out of the last 6 games, having done this in the previous 97 games. So let's see what the lads can do on Sunday, and we hope for a win.
Now, if you go in the game tomorrow, as you always, Scunny Mag for the away games gives us a review of what is in and around the ground. So, Scunny Mag, over to him.
Hi guys, Scunny Mag Paul here with your away day guide for Southampton. For those of you driving to the area, there is street parking around. There's a few paid car parks. They're quite small around the ground. There is a free car park about 15 minutes walk away. It's just to the south east. It's over the bridge, over a river. But don't let that put you off. It's quite convenient. Spaces are limited, and the locals tend to park nearer to the ground on free street parking bits that they know. So there's quite often spaces available there. For away friendly pubs, the most popular one, the one that I've been in a couple of times down there, is the Yates's. It's, if you're staying in the city overnight, it's dead handy, and if you've gone in via train, it's on the way to the ground from the train station, so it becomes packed. They're set up for away days, and there's plenty of stuff on, and it's a great atmosphere. You'll find that at Sierra Oscar 147 Foxtrot Hotel, or the what 3 words is Farm Rider Quit. Another option, if you're using some of the street parking to the northeast of the ground, you've got the Prince of Wales, not the King, the Prince of Wales. That is Sierra Oscar 140 Quebec Foxtrot, and your what 3 words is Squad Stop Chew. And then when you head into the ground, the away end is on the northeast corner of the stadium. Your what 3 words for our turnstile area is Zealous Gums Rival. And on a quick final note, for those of you staying overnight, if you are in the area and looking for something interesting, if you're a fan of real ale especially, the Portswood area has got loads of nice restaurants and takeaways and stuff, but there's a fantastic little real ale pub called the Bookshop Ale House. It's a converted bookshop, clues in the name. John, the guy that runs it, is brilliant, really knowledgeable. His staff are as well. There's only ever 1 or 2 of them on. It's not an away day destination venue by any means. It's not big enough, but if you're there the previous evening or wanting to kill some time during the day, pop in. The what 3 words is Number Ending Books is hoping for another win, stay in the top 4, and I'll catch you all after the World Cup.
Great stuff as always from Scunny Mag. So anyone goes down there, have a good time, and it's always good to get a little bit of a heads up as to where we'll go. And last but by no means least, it's Toon Tips. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you, sir. Straight on with the prices. I've actually been doing my homework while you have been talking, so no nonsense tonight. So you'll be pleased to know that yet again, the book is hugely favouring Newcastle on Sunday with an away win coming in at just under even money. The draw is a huge 13-5 and the home team are 3-1 to win the game. 1-0 Newcastle, 7-1, 2-0, 9-1, 3-0, 18-1, and the score that I fancy, 4-1, 33-1. 0-0, 10-1, ones each, 13-2, and twos each, 16-1. And if you think the bookies are wrong, and they rarely are, don't forget, Southampton 1-0 is 12-1, and Southampton 2-0 is 22-1. In terms of the goal scorers, Callum Wilson is favourite to score any time in the game at 6-4. Miggy is 5-1, and why wouldn't you put your mortgage on it? And Joe Willock is absolutely due one, and he's 11-2. And just out of interest, if our old mate Adam Armstrong plays, you can get 3-1 if you think he'll turn us over. In terms of the food bank, there's 135 quid in the pot now. Callum Wilson scored last week, and of course Joe Linton got booked, so we had a double up last week. This week I've got to stay with Callum Wilson at 6-4, and I'm also then going to say that Bruno's going to be the one that gets the yellow card, and that's 3-1 if you think he'll be booked. Very quickly, in the chat last couple of weeks, people have been asking questions about Jurgen Klopp and in terms of managers to get sacked. So Klopp is currently the third favourite manager in the Premier League to get sacked, and you can get 7-1 if you think he'll go. Ahead of him is Jesse Marsh at Leeds, and he's 3-1. But the outright favourite is Ralph Hasenhüttl at Southampton, and you can get even money if you think he might survive us sticking 6 up him on Sunday. In terms of the Super Six, it's my absolute pleasure to announce that the best hugger on Tyneside, Maureen Moser-Stobbart, has won Manager of the Month for October.
Brilliant.
Wonderful 89 points. So well done, Moser. And it's really, really great. I was just thinking it must be wonderful to have at least one person in that relationship who knows anything about football. So well done. Maureen also, not only is she Manager of the Month, Maureen is also joint top of the league with Jack Railton on 182 points. But I'm going to give a special shout out to a dark horse who's flying up on the rails. Well done, Mr. Patterson. You've had a fantastic month as well. Bet safely, everybody. Please don't chase your losses and take it easy.
Great stuff as always, mate. Okay, we're going to go round the table. What? Let's ask firstly, Mitch. Who do you think will start tomorrow? Which started at the start of the show with this. Who do you think he will play? And give us your prediction with the dice and your prediction. Remember,
He's talked Maxi up in the press conference today, and I suspect he might start him. I think they're there to be got at. The home form's horrendous. The manager's under pressure. So I think why not go for the Julian? I'd like to see we'll be a bit ruthless. I think we've got that in with now. So yeah, I think that they're there to be hardened, so why not go for it? Put an attacking team out, sit ASM, gives us your 70 best minutes, and then you've got impact on the bench in terms of Murphy or anybody else he wants to introduce. And I'm always, prefer to see one on the front foot like that. Now, I don't have the dice because I've left the bloody bag in the boot of the car, but I do have a random football score generator sat in front of us on the computer. So, ever eventful. It is spinning, and it's come up with 2-2. That's what it's come up with.
wow. Okay, 2-2.
My personal prediction would be 1-0 to us. I think we'll nick it.
Okay, Steve.
Right. Well, I suspect that he'll play Murphy in the place of Joe Linton. I don't know why. I just have this feeling that, yes, I know he's talked up ASM, but I have a feeling that he'll want to keep it tight, and I think he'll get more that way than ASM. And I think he's possibly looking at ASM, and I would, if it was me, I'd probably do the same. Looking to bring ASM back in for the Chelsea game next week, just before the World Cup. Set us up nicely for Christmas. And in terms of a score, I think that we'll carry on in the same vein. Definitely an away win. And I was going to go for 2-0. When I saw Joe said it was 9-1, I thought, wow, that's pretty good. And if I could double that up with a 5-1 from Miggy, me 50 pence would be rolling us.
Brilliant. Keith?
I think if you pick Murphy ahead of St. Maxim, I'd be gutted. I think Chelsea's a winnable game, but I think you need Maxim back, get 90 minutes under his belt at Southampton to make an impact against Chelsea. I think you've got to remember, Maxi won't be going to the World Cup, and he's literally, Wednesday night play Murphy against Palace, but seriously, get these 6 points off Southampton and Chelsea, and you put the shit right among the pigeons. Honestly, you really do. If you can turn Southampton over on Sunday, and then Chelsea's just been rammed 4-1. Why can't you beat them at home? Why can't the St. James Park crowd not turn Chelsea over? And if you do that, you send a message to players you want to bring in January. You send a message to the fans. You send a message to the top six. And seriously, Maxi needs to get a game. He needs 90 minutes under his belt, and not a better place to do it than down there. If they're down on the luck, put Maxi on, and he'll carve him in your backside. So for me, it's a front three of Miggy, who's on fire, Wilson and Maxi, and the rest of the team stays as is. I think by doing that, I think you've got Longstaff, you've got Bruno, you've got Willock in the midfield, and I know Miggy will work back. So I think it's a no-brainer. You've got to play Maxi tomorrow, and not Murphy. You know what I mean? It's got to be that way. Fixture wise, I think if Newcastle score early on, it could be a 5-1. But I want to take 2-0. I've took that on my bet, and I had a decent this week. I had 21 points on the league thing, so I was captain sensible, and 2-0 Newcastle, because they still played to keep that manager in his job. I think it'll be tight early on. Newcastle keep it tight, but I think we'll have too much. And I think if we get 2-0 and come home with the 3 points and get ready for Chelsea during the week.
Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been quite conservative lately, and in a very lovely way. I've been continuously getting proved wrong. And so tomorrow, Sunday, I just thought, you know what, they're not very good. We're absolutely on fire. And you know what, whether it's Murphy, whether it's Sam Maximum, whether it's whoever, wherever, whatever, we're better than them. There's nothing at all to suggest that we're not going to win. I wouldn't be disappointed. I wouldn't be gutted, but it's certainly 3 points there to be had. So I'm confident. Nothing will change my mind on that. They've got a manager under massive pressure. They do play better at home, I must admit. They're shocking on the road. But again, we're fourth in the Premier League, aren't we? So let's stop talking about other people and what they can do. And yeah, no matter which way, no matter what he does with the forward line, you've got Callum Wilson in there, you've got Miggy Almiron in there. Them two will beat these on their own. Whether it's an early goal, whether it's scrappy like like Everton was and like Aston Villa was, but we've got the ability to blow people away now, haven't we? And we haven't said that for a long time. So I'll stay confident. If we can stick 4 past Fulham, if we can stick 5 past Brentford, we'll stick. We'll stick 6 past these. So yeah, Newcastle will win, and we'll win at least 4-0.
Great to see the dog making an appearance there. Now, listen, I will forget this if I don't do it tonight. We've still got 7 minutes of the show, so we can cover this, lads. Kathleen McCowan said, I sent you a message a few weeks ago about Castoria and my idea about the club making their own shirt, obviously with sponsors' logos. She said you were going to bring it up on your Friday night show. So there we go. Newcastle, could you ever see the date when they make their own shirt, Mitch?
It was something that was mooted I tell you who had the idea, or where it was in the idea of, was in the midst of all the madness that was Mid-Hat.
Yep.
That was one of the ideas they had, was to create a devised sports brand and use Newcastle United to push that brand globally. I think, however, there's probably too much money from FFP to be made with signing up a big deal with one of the big manufacturers or an exclusive deal with an up-and-coming manufacturer. So it depends on how you want to balance it. I could see an argument for creating our own brand. We certainly could create our own brand, or use an existing brand that's somewhere under the wing of PIF and make that more higher profile. But I think as it stands, it would be more sensible and prudent to go with somebody who has the name and the brand already and the experience and money to add to the coffers of Newcastle United from an FFP point of view.
Okay, Steve, homemade shirt, good idea.
Mitch is exactly spot on with it, with the fact that it was discussed with the BZG. It was part of their plan. They saw being in control of their own kit. And let's face it, Castoria are not in control of it at the moment, are they? You know, they're running wild and free and wild and loose. I think there's a lot of talk about Castoria at the moment in terms of what they've done with the fifth shirt, isn't it? A fifth shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing count. You know, there just seems to be that many coming out at the moment. I'm not convinced that they'll be there next season, but I think a lot of it is down to, in my head, who actually owns Castoria and who they actually are and who's behind them, who's supporting them.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of other issues that I have with them. Not least the quality of their kit and their absolutely abysmal after sales service that they have, which is non-existent. As long as we got rid of them, I think I would be happy. No matter who came in, but there's no reason why you couldn't set yourself up and create your own. Remember that factory that there was up in Durham somewhere, where they were rattling off Adidas shirts for fun, in the dark days of the entertainers with the collar shirt that we talked about right at the very beginning. Think of what it could do. Factory up there making Newcastle kit, doing it all in house. Why not?
Yeah. Okay, Keith, your thoughts on a homemade shirt? I mean, I prefer Adidas, as most people in the chat would.
Well, the question you asked was, do you think the club could set their own company away? You know what I went in a laughing fit earlier? I was thinking, these people who send the photographs in with the dogs and they've all got like hasty haircuts. What do they do? What do the dogs think while they're sitting parking the fringes and that? And, like curling the dog's hair up. If I went near my dogs and tried to comb like that, it'd just take my hand off. But you just see all these people with all these dogs with curly perms and that. And honestly, the dog pictures just do my head in. But the question was, do you think Newcastle could set their own company away? I think my nana would do better than Castoria. To be fair, I could say my nana in charge of manufacturing. My Auntie Elsie would be head of operations. My granddad do logistics. And they'll kick the ass off Castoria because they haven't got a clue. They don't know if they want a shit shave or a shampoo. And everything they touch turns to rat shit. So could Newcastle do it? Without a doubt. Neil Mitchell is right in the head though. The day we employed Peter Silverstone from Arsenal, the minute he came in, he's sitting on a contract equivalent to 300 million over 5 years. So would you take the short-term gain and the added profit, or would you take the FPP argument? And it'd be much harder to make the FPP argument if you were doing your own, doing your own shirt brand. So I think when we brought Silverstone in, I think it ruled out the chance of doing it in-house. And I think what we'll do is we'll see. I mean, if you think the proximity between, I think is it Puma and Adidas are literally 20 miles apart. Is that? I think
they're in the same town.
In the same town. So if you think of that, to get it, I'm sure Silverstone will have contacts with both clubs, and to get an auction, this is going to be the biggest brand in football. It's going to be the biggest club in football. People are finding it hard to get used to it. I think we are, but I think our competitors or our opponents are finding it even harder to get used to. But once Silverstone's goes into that town and gets taken out by Puma one night and Adidas the next night, you're talking about 300 million going on to the FPP argument. And that's the kind of players that we'll get to finish in the top 4 this year. So, no, we won't set out away, Steve. We'll end up strengthening the argument that Mitch has covered so well, because it's to me, as fans, we've got to be realistic about one thing: is we can get higher than we hope for quicker, but I think we've got to allow them to have some kind of naming rights. We've got to allow them to get rid of Castori and bring a shirt manufacturer in, and we've got to sell the front of the shirt to a household name, massive venture. When we do those 3 things, Newcastle, with Ashley's frugal buy-in for 14 years, is put us in a strong position. Put that extra money in, and you'll be able to bring the kind of players that will get us from our position this year, 3rd or 4th, to challenge 1 and 2 over the next couple of years.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah. I'm fully useless Adidas facts, and one of them is that Adidas, he fell out with his brother, and his brother said, "Right, I'll go make Puma then." So it's a family thing. But
do you know the third family, the third sportswear group in the family? Arena Swimwear.
Yeah,
Adidas' son,
there you go.
and also in the same town.
Yeah, I agree with the lads. I think doing things in house is a wonderful idea, but why would you? And I think you're right. The commercial director was brought in not only to make us money, but to make us mega money. And companies like Nike and Adidas have mega money and will always have mega money. So Keith's right. You put whoever, we talked about Aston Martin, didn't we? You put Aston Martin on the front, Adidas here, new badge here, and we're ready to go. And that's where you do sign your Mbappes, etc. from. So it's an exciting time. I'm going to play devil's advocate slightly. Yes, the customer care. The shirt that I'm wearing now has got wonky stitching here. But actually the Castore gear, not necessarily the Newcastle United Castore gear, but the Castore sports gear is actually really good quality. I think it's good stuff. They do make some decent stuff. For whatever reason, whether Newcastle United was too big for them or not, that whether they couldn't keep up with demand. And I don't think companies like Nike or Adidas have any demand issues. If we need 3 million shirts making tomorrow, they'll make them for us and they'll be delivered the day after. So it's exciting times. Fundamentally, I don't care who makes the shirt, to be honest, whether we make it in-house, whether Adidas do it or, whatever. It'll look great when Bruno or Botman's there lifting the FA Cup next year, won't it? So we'll look smart, whatever we do.
Finished on a positive, started on a positive all the way through the show. That's NUFC Matters on a Friday for you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the kind messages, the kind texts, the kind messages on Facebook. Lots of people, as always, giving us support. Over 650 watching tonight live. Been absolutely fantastic, as always. Big thank you to Mitch, to Steve Hasty, to Keith, and to Joe, and to Andre, and to Scunny Mag. Paul, for their contributions tonight, but most importantly, thanks to you for watching, for your likes. Hit the like on the way out. It is very important. We hit 520 likes last week. We're at 230. What's the like button? It's a little thumb up down below. Costs you nothing to do it. It's free to do it. And likewise, subscribe, because subscribing to the channel helps it grow. We've had another 100 plus this week join the channel. And that's free as well. So keep joining us, keep sharing it, share it, tell people about it, pass the word around. But most importantly, enjoy the weekend's football. Lads, have a great weekend.
Cheers, lads.
All the best.
See you guys.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, starting with Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals. You can find them at 304 Old Durham Road on Gateshead. Telephone 0191 478 273, or email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk, or the website darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. Their website is thegohd.com. And thanks to 3 Property Investments, who specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the Northeast. They offer a full in-house service, from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give the guys a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@freeproperty.co.uk should you be interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria. You can order them by going to the website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by calling 01768 210 102. Thanks to the guys at Blowhole Brewery. You can find them at blowholebrewery.co.uk. Got a vast range of beers. They're a new brewery company, and their cans are suitably addressed, like the Geordie Juice here, in the strips of Newcastle United from the 90s. Big thank you to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things, and to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website. If you want to subscribe, then hit the subscription button. If you want to hit the likes, then hit the thumb up, and please share to your social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify, and the rest goes up 24 hours after the show has finished. If you want to join, well, you can click join underneath the video and become a member for a small fee. If you want to pay the £25 fee and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw, then go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and click membership, or use your smartphone on the QR code, which will take you straight there. We also give you a free car sticker. If you're a subscriber, simply email john@nufcmatters.com to claim your free car window sticker today. We also support the food bank on here. NUFC fans foodbank.co.uk is where you can find the matchday bucket and make a virtual donation 365 days of the year. We still do a lot of events in and around the region. If you want to see Super Mac, pre-match and after-match, you can go to the Dog and Parrot in Newcastle and hear Malcolm give his views on the game and listen to what he has to say about his career as well. Always a great afternoon. Kids are welcome. Good food, good beer. And get yourself into Pumphrey's. You can always see John Anderson and John Gibson in there pre-match on the Cloth Market in Newcastle. A couple of events coming up in 2023, an evening with Peter Beardsley, Friday the 10th of February at St Dom's Catholic Club. You can get the tickets direct from the venue. And Peter Beardsley is also at the Tyneside Irish Centre on Friday, February the 17th. Tickets available from Woucher for that one. Get yourself on the Woucher. Make a cracking Christmas present for any Newcastle fan. Also, an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford, Friday the 2nd of June, 2023 at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth. Tickets for that are available from www.heelandtoe.org.uk/events. And if you fancy a Christmas jumper, get the Bruno Christmas jumper from NUFCmatters.com.